Hockey Podcast, the Cats and Bolts. 3, 2.
Yeah, that's very good, Ben. Hey, you didn't let us down, everybody. Benjamin Castro is the producer of, as the man said, Florida's #1 hockey podcast and Florida's favorite hockey show. I'm Rod. She's Sarina. And I'm going to tell you right now, Ben, you can write it down. It is the yard sale episode. I feel like, Sarina, we had one last year. Do you remember?
That just flashed into my head when you told me earlier. You're like, this is going to be the yard sale episode. And it never struck me until just now that I think we did. Maybe yard sale 2.
Yard sale 2.
One a year is fine. Yeah. And I think I think the hockey fans that are watching will definitely know the definition of yard sale. Not the garage sale, but in the hockey terms, it's a little bit of everything. A dog's breakfast. It's the yard sale episode. I have a lot of very entertaining topics to get to over the next 30 minutes. I just want to say a huge thank you to Doug McLean for dropping by yesterday. They still love him here in Florida as the Panthers coach, 95-97. As they say, leave them wanting more. And next week, Jeff Chickering will be with us, formerly of the Panthers television broadcast. I'm going to ask him to bring his Stanley Cup ring in tomorrow. So that's next week. And our guests' appearances are brought to you by Beach House Pompano and Beresco. Before we get to the yard sale stuff, which is a little all over the place, Sarina, it's the Cats and Bolts podcast. We'll just start with some updates on the teams. Florida Panthers update, up and down, home for a big homestand this week. What are you following with the Cats, the local team, lately?
I think they're in one of those positions where they had a really tough road trip. Obviously, they didn't win all the games that they probably wanted to, but it's just really difficult being out on the West Coast. It's a 3-hour time difference. We've talked about this before, and I've talked to Randy Moeller about it. I'm like, how hard is it really to go out to the West Coast? He's like, it's terrible, it's horrible, horrible. But realistically, they're not playing till 10 o'clock at night local time. You can't just snap your fingers and adapt. So I think they're probably happy to be home. They got 3 games coming up in the next 4 or 5 days or whatever it is, and then they'll have a couple-week break for the Four Nations Cup coming up. So the season's going by fast.
Yeah, well, they were 2-2 on the road trip of what she's talking about, and I think people expect them to be better than 500, but they're in second place. Doug McLean kind of went after them last week. If you were watching, he said, and I quote because I put it in my South Florida Tribune column, "There's something missing with them. Bob's been good, but not stand on your head good. Aaron Ekblad hasn't been as good." So Doug McLean kind of went after them. But I will say this. I really enjoy the interaction with our viewers, whether it's the YouTube comments or if you DM me. Don't be surprised if you get a response from me. And one guy said, it was on Twitter, Serena, he goes, all the Panthers are missing is playoff hockey. And I see that with your Oilers, and I see it with the Panthers. They seem a little bored. You know what I mean? They're ready to play for real.
I don't think they should be bored. They're not in a position to play like they're bored. Let's be honest.
Well, that's my term, not the viewers. He goes,
No, I get that.
There's nothing missing but playoff hockey. So I took it to the board, and I agreed with the guy. You don't?
I mean, I personally don't feel like the Panthers are playing their best hockey. That's just the way I see it, and I don't think I would get too many arguments out of that. We've had this discussion over the little bit, and for them to go 2-2 in essentially California, if you will, sure, they won some big games. They lost a couple. It is what it is. But if you can get a 50-50 split on the road, great, because that's a pretty tough thing. But overall, they are losing games this year that I think they kind of would like to get back, that I feel like they probably should have won.
Well, even they will tell you they're not playing 10 out of 10, but they'll also tell you, I'm pretty sure they don't want to be playing 10 out of 10 now. They want to be in the playoffs. And that's what I think the guy's getting at. You don't want your team peaking now, even paying at 100%, do you? Like your Oilers, for instance.
Let me say this. I will say this as an athlete myself. You never, ever, ever lay off the gas just in case. That's the death of a team. There's not one coach in the National Hockey League that's going to walk into their dressing room and say, guys, whoa, slow down. We got to save a little in the tank for the playoffs. That's the death of a team.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you, but I also think now is not the kicking garbage cans time either. And that's why I don't think, it's like last year they were on a slide near the end of the playoff, near the end of the regular season. Remember that? And Paul Maurice had to give the relax. Everybody relax. That's all that I'm saying. I don't think that it's time for a 5-alarm fire like a lot of people are. We're not going to go down the road of people ripping the Panthers because the second they're winning, they're the greatest, and then they're losing and trade everybody, and we get tired of that.
But we have enough fans, though, that are going to jump down our throats about it. We get it all the time.
Every team does, though. Don't you think Oilers fans have some kooky fans?
Oh, there's insane fans everywhere.
Right.
But we get you guys, I can't wait to hear what you have to say about the Panthers. I'm like, the game's not even over, and you're already tweeting that we're going to rip the Panthers?
I love that. That's great.
I know, but my point is, it's like, Guy, again, I'm not the coach of the team. I'm also not the general manager. Also not one of the players. So anything I say that I buy and pay for on this podcast is my business. I can say whatever the hell I want, right?
My mind's going to, I wish you were the coach or the GM. That would be hot. That would be fun.
I wouldn't be a very good coach.
No.
I could probably be a general. Maybe, I don't know. This is ridiculous. But if it was between
but she
the
is
two,
a coach. But she is a coach. She runs Eat Fitness. Remember when you were running that rowing studio and I was in that competition and you stood over me yelling in my ear and I stopped and I said, "Don't you yell at me." Remember that?
For the record, I didn't stand there and drill Sergeant Rod.
That's how I remember it.
It was like, you can't say anything to Rod. It's like, just leave me alone. He's just one of those people. That's the way it is.
I'm like, that doesn't motivate me.
I coach. This is the difference, though. When I'm coaching a class or whatever, I'm coaching. There's a difference between running the class and coaching it. I'm coaching people how to be better at said performance.
There you go.
Okay.
Now,
move on.
I'm ready to move on to. We're on the same page. How about that? Write it down. 5 minutes on the first segment. I didn't expect to go that long, but that's okay. These all-quarter century teams, I'm loving them. She isn't really. And we'll get into that. But on Tuesday, it was the long-awaited Tampa Bay Lightning first and second all-quarter century teams. Best Lightning teams for the past 25 years. The first team was Andrei Vasilevsky in goal, Hedman and Dan Boyle on the blue line, up front Kucherov, Stamkos, St. Louis. The second team was Ben Bishop in goal, which I don't agree with. Pavel Kabina, Ryan McDonough on the blue line, Braden Point, Vincent Lecavalier, and Brad Richards up front. I'm sitting there going, hello, Nikolai Habibulin won them a Stanley Cup in goal in 2004, but I'm always the guy sticking up for the goalies. I love the debate, but you don't seem as into these all-quarter century teams like I am.
Well, it's just more because here's the thing. In that National Hockey League, we have teams that are 125 years old, and we have teams that are 2 years old. So to do a quarter century, okay, but who cares? Why would anybody in Montreal give a shit about the last 20? They don't. Those people live in the 50s still. They are still obsessed with that situation. 60s, I guess. Then you look at a team like Florida, for example. They've had a team for 32 years. So the guys that played in the first 7 years don't get a nod, when in my opinion, there were a lot of quality players that built this organization. If it wasn't for some of the players that played for the Panthers in the first 5 to 7 years, I don't think they would still be here. Some quality guys. So I don't know. I just don't love the fact that it's like, who cares? And you have a team I was like, is Seattle going to have one? And Rod's like, Vegas has one. I'm like, see, this is my point. Vegas is 7 years old and they have a quarter century team. And I don't know. It's such a weird.
Yeah, but yet when we sit down and talk about it, I enjoy talking about it with you.
Because I like to guess. guess. I was like, I guessed 5 out of the 6 Lightning right off the flip. The only one I missed was Dan Boyle. Mm-hmm. And so, but that's a no-brainer. Whereas we were thinking about Montreal. It's not fair to say Montreal's the last 25 years, who are your top 6 players? Man, Montreal's had some great players in their organization. I understand it's not trying to do a disservice to the players that came before, but if you're in Montreal and who cares?
Yeah, so that's the difference between me and her. She's the who cares girl when it comes to this, and I like it a lot. So moving on, point 3. Your favorite Panther, Matthew Tkachuk, made 2 teams. He made the Florida Panthers and the Calgary Flames all quarter century teams. Over to you, Sarina Dawn.
We already had this conversation.
Yeah, but not on camera.
And I was like, what? Time out. Wait a minute. You mean to tell me that Matthew Tkachuk is in the top 3 forwards on both the Calgary Flames and the Florida Panthers in the last 25 years?
Ding, 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 ding.
No way, no how, no chance. And I even said to Rod, and I fucking hate the Flames, and I will still say that. There's guys in the last 25 years that have played on both of these teams that are better players. Like, it's got nothing to do with him. They're just are better players. Come on. And what did you say?
You can cut it there. I don't know. What did I? I said I would put Elias Lindholm on there. No, Michael Backman, their current
Michael Backlund
captain, because he's the longest serving Flame. But listen, you seem to care a lot for a gal that doesn't care.
What I wanted. No, this is why I like this story. Because as soon as I said it, Rod goes, I don't disagree with you. I actually agree with you. And you know what? I think a lot of Panthers and Flames fans would too.
Yeah, but again, this is a popularity contest more than stats. And I'll tell you what.
Oh, no, you're right. Because you got people who don't know the sport voting on it.
No. I don't agree with that. I read to you who the voters were. They're coaches, media, broadcasters, and former players, alumni. Fans do have a vote, but I think this is weighted by the hockey people. I really do. And to give you an example, Peter Marr is a really good friend of mine. He was the voice of the Calgary Flames for 100 years. And I said to him once, who was your favorite all-time Flame, Peter? He goes, Matthew Tkachuk. I'm like, what? Of all those Flames, Landon McDonald, Mike Vernon, do I need to name them? Matthew Tkachuk's your favorite Flame? He was. He might have been a guy voting on this because he loves Tkachuk's personality, and that's my point. It's a popularity contest, a vote per se, not about stats.
Okay, correct. So if you're going to say quarter century team, it should be based on talent, not on this isn't the freaking all-star game where it's a fan voting situation and every team gets a participant. Like, this is just it's again, that's why I'm like, this is dumb. Who cares if it's a popularity contest? I mean, what? Come on, man.
Hey, I sucked her into 6 minutes of talking about it. I win.
Nope.
Ready to move on?
I will always win
point
this.
4. She wanted to talk about this last week, but we kind of had a guy in here that was a bit of a big deal, Doug McLean. And it's our trip to Chicago, that toddling town. We went for 2 Blackhawks games. It was her birthday gift to me. Thank you. You know how much I enjoyed it. It was amazing. It was cold as balls up there, and I still had the greatest time. I have written down Pizza Wars.
Okay.
Over to you.
I sent Benny Boy, don't put it up yet, Ben, but get ready. So I sent Benny a picture of the pizza we had at Giordano's.
Yeah.
So I had 3 different, I guess we both had 3 different types of pizza. So we were told several different places. And unfortunately, we were told by Dale Talon to go to Gino's East. My bad. The night that we got there, I had looked everything up online. I was ready to go, got in the Uber, went to place the order to get it delivered to the hotel. I'm like, why is this thing not accepting online orders? I don't understand. The one closest to our hotel. So I looked on the actual map on your phone and it said temporarily closed, but it was still on the website. So that's why I couldn't order from Gino's East. The other one was too far to deliver. So we settled on Lou Malnati's, which is what Bure 1096 told us to go to. So I'm like, I don't fucking know. What do we get? And the guy on the phone was like, well, this one's the most popular, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, sure, order that. We're in the Uber.
We got? The most popular one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're in the Uber and we got it delivered to the hotel and it had Lou Malnati's. And then we were with our friends Mike and Joanne had ordered this little deep dish pizza at this place called Luke's.
Next to Giordano's,
because we walked over to Giordano's and we were going to go to the hockey game that night. We had a driver coming to pick us up and they're like, well, the wait's going to be about 45 minutes. And we know the pizza takes about 45 minutes. So we're like, shoot, went next door to Luke's and I took one bite of Joanne's pizza. I was like, whoa, this is legit. Then we had Giordano's. We had like a half meat and meat. So Benny, you can pop up the Giordano's one. The picture I have of the Giordano's pizza. I mean,
there's our friend Mike Lee. Hi,
there's
Mike.
wearing his Regina Pat shirt. Doesn't that pizza itself probably weighed in at like 18 pounds? I mean, it was huge.
And it was so good.
Oh, look at that cheese.
It was so good. Yeah. So I'm going to see if I have a Malnati's picture as well. But that one there was the one that was, whatever it happened to be.
That was the crust.
That's the thing. I thought Chicago deep dish pizza was like 3-inch crust. It's not. It's 3-inch meat and cheese and everything, right? Dropped in a deep dish. Hence the name. So I was a first timer. So we've spent 4 minutes getting into this story.
I do have a video of the Malnati's pizza, but it's not quite as good.
Here's how good. My vote, by the way, Malnati's now following me on Twitter. Not a big deal. but I said to Sarina, you put spinach and tomato on that? I don't even like spinach and tomatoes, and it was the greatest pizza I ever had. Imagine if it was stuff I liked, like pepperoni and sausage and like an all-meat pizza. Lou Malnati's for me. Bure 1096 has it, but you don't agree.
I was a Giordano's fan, although that pizza that Joanne had at Luke's was like, but I think it's because it was a single size, right? So when you make a deep dish, like a small one, it's going to be a little crunchy or whatever. But I really like Giordano's. We got the meat and more meat. It was just, you guys saw in the picture, the cheese was all over the place. And Mike was like, you guys just go first. And
we had such a great time.
We had the best time. We went to Wrigley Field. We saw a bunch of, I dragged Rod to Wrigley, even though we couldn't go in.
Went to the Bean?
When I say dragged, it was freezing. It was freezing, Ben. So yeah, we took the train, went there, went to the Bean. We went to the Bean right away when we got there in the morning, like Friday night, got there Saturday morning because I was like, it's going to be cold if we wait anymore. And we saw an outdoor rink. There was a Zamboni out there. Everybody was happy.
We really love Chicago, and it was cold as hell.
Yeah.
So we can't wait to go back when it's decent.
Are we going to talk about the actual hockey part of it?
In 60 seconds or less, let her rip.
We got to sit in the Blackhawks suite, and Chris Chelios was our host. And we had the most amazing time. But the best part, literally, was seeing the anthem in Chicago. Chris was like, you guys are going to not want to miss the anthem. We're like, okay. So we went out there and we're like looking up at the flag, and they started on this anthem, and my jaw was on the ground. And I'm going to tell you guys, I've obviously heard O Canada in Edmonton, which is right up there, number one for me, but a close second, it's not even my anthem, is that anthem in Chicago. And I talked to one of our good friends, Corey, who works for the Flames, called me yesterday, and he goes, how was Chicago? And I said, great. He goes, how about the anthem in that rink? He goes, I've worked in that rink for 19 years, and I always look forward to it, and I always get goosebumps.
I didn't know it was a thing, the anthem. When we watch games in Chicago, it's usually big playoff games, right? So I just thought people were naturally amped. But this was a Saturday night against Vegas. The Blackhawks were the last place team in the NHL. And listen, I'm a guy, career broadcaster, and you're a broadcaster too. I could rattle the walls with my voice here. Like that guy, when he let her rip, as you like to say. And the whole, like the whole place is going crazy. I loved it. You could feel an energy, but you could feel it.
I stood there like, well, what is happening right now?
Yeah, and she kind of glossed over something. We were in the suite inside with Chris Chelios. He's like, come on outside. This is a big thing. I'm so glad that he did. I didn't realize it was a thing. Chelly was like, he's Chelly now with us. Not a big deal. Not just Chris. But, by the way, we were sitting in the suite, and Chris Chelios walked in, and Sarina stared at him for 30 minutes. She just stared at him. I can't imagine what you would have done if you hadn't been prepped that he was going to be showing up.
I would have crapped myself. If I did not know that Chris Chelios was coming into that suite, I would have fell over. There are certain players who just... it's just mind-blowing to me. And so then him and I are chatting, and he goes, yeah, actually, Kyle Calder is going to be coming by, I think. And I was like, that's crazy. I'm like, Kyle played in Regina, he played junior, and Rod did the play-by-play for Kyle's games. So it's probably been 25 years, realistically, since the two of them have seen each other. But it was good to catch up with him. And, I'm
trying to send Ben the photo of us with Chelios, but it's, I know it's not to your MacBook, so I don't know if you go to open that up or whatever, but not that anybody cares because it is a Panthers and Lightning show, but Chelios is an NHL icon. So
listen, if you're watching this as a Panther or Lightning fan, you better have some mad-ass respect for Chris Chelios.
And the anthem singer in Chicago.
And my opinion is Chris Chelios is probably, and he's the best U.S.-born defenseman in the National Hockey League, but in my opinion, he's one of the best.
Ta-da!
What a beauty.
Our good friends Mike and Joanne Lee that invited us to come along with them and be part of this whole thing.
And
let's be honest, they foot the bill for the whole thing. What?
The only shirt that I bought in that store, because I couldn't justify spending money on a Blackhawks shirt, but bought an original 6 shirt.
I did, and I enjoyed it. So yeah, that's Chris Chelios. Great work, Ben. You're on it today.
And he's on it.
You're on it. Okay, we're moving on. Speaking of sports icons, one more thank you to Mike and Joanne because they watch this show every week.
They better be watching.
Sports icons. I might I might drop an F-bomb for the first time. Would you guys be offended if I did?
You said the S word last week.
And I live to tell the tale. No, Joe Girardi. I want to know from our viewers if you think we should have Joe Girardi in this studio, the 4-time World Series champion, 3 times as a player, as a catcher with the Yankees, once as a manager, the 2006 NL Manager of the Year with your Marlins, lives here in Boca, and I did put it on our Instagram story. 81% of respondents saying yes, they do want to see Joe Girardi, or as our friend Chris the Bronx says, Joe fucking Girardi, because he's that big a deal. I think I know your answer. But the thing is, people love this as a hockey show. So that's why I'm wondering if we should do that. They come here, Panthers and Lightning fans, to talk hockey, not get away from baseball, I feel like.
Well, we're going to talk about hockey if he comes on here. He clearly is a sports guy.
He's from Peoria, Illinois.
He'll know enough. He'll know enough about it.
I feel like you won't ask him one hockey question, knowing you. Baseball's your thing.
Yeah, but if I ask him, like, hey, who was your favorite player growing up, whatever it happens to be, he's going to have a favorite hockey player. I mean, why not? Then we can kind of go down that
Probably
track.
Bernie Federico. Mind you, he's only 61, and when I say only, that's younger than even Bernie, so I don't even know who it would be. Ben, put your gorgeous face on the screen here. You have a connection to the Gerardi family, and you have an opinion on the question here. Whether we should bring him in or not.
I think that would be pretty cool. Yeah, a little funny story. I used to serve him some bagels up in where I used to Bagel Ben, 2nd Street Bagel and Deli. But yeah, I think that would be really cool. Have him right next to you. I mean, he's around town, so he knows. I'm sure he's been to some Panthers games, so I'm sure. Yeah, I think that would be a lot of fun.
It's a yes from you. It's a yes from you.
Yeah, of course.
And 81% of our viewers that responded on our Instagram story are saying yes. So I'll do my best. So you get Joe Girardi in, but the thing is, he works out at LA Fitness. You're the gym person. Like, I feel like I learned real long ago, you don't bother a dog when it's eating. You don't walk behind a horse without touching its ass. And you don't bother somebody when they're working out. So how do you feel about that? Do you want to come with me and ask, or Ben, you feel like you have an opinion?
Well, I was going to say, I think you just mention, talk to him.
Ben the Bagel Boy.
Yeah, be like, oh, I also have a show. I've had a lot of people on. You just kind of give them the hints.
The reason being is hockey guys, save for the one that you and I know, every other one has been yes, in, when and where.
Yeah.
Every time. I don't know the baseball guys as well. I just don't want to be a pain in this.
Has he ever seen the show?
I don't know. I asked him for a photo in the gym one time. He was super nice. Everybody loves him. So I get a sense that he would probably do it. Yeah.
Okay.
So, okay, moving on. Before we get to some other goofy stuff. If you had a vote, Sarina, and maybe one day we will have a vote for the Coach of the Year in the National Hockey League, I'm just interested to know who you think it should be.
Boy, I feel... Oof.
Tougher than you'd think, huh?
There's just too many. I can't pick somebody specifically that I feel like is a dead ringer for that award. I just feel like there's a lot of teams that have been doing really well. Honestly, I have to say, not that I would pick him far and away, but I feel like Craig Berube has done a really good job in Toronto, because we've seen a clusterfuck there for a long time. And I'm not sure why they decided. Toronto sticks with their coaches forever. I don't get it. I'm like, if you're not doing anything, whatever. Like, when they kept Sheldon Keefe for so long, like, he should have been gone long before that. But I feel like Berube's done a pretty decent job. You can see a little bit of an attitude change in guys like Marner. Like, yes, he's a little on the softer side. It has the reputation for it. But, he's getting a lot of points. Nylander's playing really well. Matthews, when he's playing, like, because he's been injured or whatever. Toronto, I feel like their defense is struggling a little bit. But not playing up to their potential, but...
So it's Craig Berube.
No,
that's all.
No, I literally just said I can't give that as like
Can you land the plane, please?
You asked, what do you want me to say? And I'm like, I can't. What do you want me? If I was like, I don't know, we wouldn't have a podcast. I don't know the answer. Let's move on.
I asked for a name. I asked for the time, not how to build the watch.
That's hilarious. You asked me. Okay,
No.
fine. Moving forward, if I don't want to answer the question, I'm not going to. This podcast is going to go down to 12 minutes.
Well,
you're welcome.
Perfect. Then that'll be more time of me. That's what they want.
Yeah, that's what you want.
I prepped you before we left the house that I was going to ask you this. So all I'm asking is, if you have to check a box when you go around behind the corner, who are you going to vote for? I'm just asking you who it would be. So you don't know.
No, I don't.
Okay, fine. It's interesting because I thought it was a slam dunk. Spencer Carberry, who isn't even a household name in his own house, has Washington #1 overall in the NHL in his second season on the bench, and he was missing Alex Ovechkin for a quarter of the year or half of the season so far. But then I put that on our Facebook page of the Rod Peterson Show, and people are weighing in with Scott Arniel has the Jets #1 in the NHL, tied with Washington most nights. Your Edmonton Oilers, Chris Knobloch's done a real nice job. Martin St. Louis has Montreal in a playoff spot in year 4 of a rebuild, right? Here's the bottom line, folks, that you may not realize. In the National Hockey League, every coach is good. I really believe that.
Yeah, 100%. Even the teams that are not in the playoffs. You know, it's got a lot of, look at Nashville. Got nothing to do with their coach. They got all the best players in the world on that team, all the old has-beens just hanging on.
Are you being sarcastic? I can't tell.
No, but like they have a lot of really good players. And again, like I said at the start of the year, just because you put all the superstars on one team, and I called this, don't just assume Nashville's going to mop the floor with everybody, because that's what they thought was going to happen.
You fire the coach when the players don't perform, and that's what's happening in Nashville.
Of course. Of course.
Okay.
Of course.
4.5 minutes left. That gives us 2 minutes and 15 seconds per topic. A live show. We flirted with the idea of doing it from Amerint Bank Arena before a game, and this Saturday the Chicago Blackhawks are there in Connor Bedard. We talked about it. I was interested when I brought up the idea. It wasn't even mine. It was Brent from Wellington on Florida's idea to do a live show, and you didn't immediately dump on it.
Shocking. I know. Usually I'm like, that's stupid.
Well, you're not a big fan of those public things, right?
It's not that I'm not a big fan of the public things. It's just that outside at the little tailgate things that they have, the music is so loud, you can't hear anybody else.
We blame Alex for that.
Poor Alex. People are drunk already. It's obnoxious, whatever. If we found a good spot to do the show away from those people, if we put like the rink in the background, that's a little different. You know, like I know the idea was kind of do it from like the tailgate. It wouldn't be possible. It's so loud there. There's just way too much background noise.
Well, okay. But it's going to take some planning. But I feel like the next tailgate is when we will do it. We'll just do it across the parking lot or on the other side of the speakers or something. We got to do it where the people are.
There's an afternoon game, I think, Saturday.
I don't know. I'm not looking past Chicago and the Blackhawks. I said to her, and to Mike, when we were in Chicago, I said, I got to get out of here before I become a Blackhawks fan. Like I really loved it. The vibe was palpable of that whole play, and they're going to be here Saturday.
That's one team in the NHL that you haven't latched onto so far, so you've only got about 5 left.
I bought like 4 Blackhawks pieces of apparel. You're lucky I didn't wear any today. All right, and the last one.
You should have. Why not?
Watch your mouth, sister. I am now an ordained minister as of last week with the Universal Church of Life. Nobody finds it a laughing matter but you.
I am fully in support of this. When we were at our friend Brent and Bree's house having steak on Sunday night, and Bree is a wedding planner. And she's like, Rod, you would be really good at being, you're loud as fuck, whatever, right? That's not what she said, but that's what I said. So, but she's like, with your voice, like you would be really good at this. Rod's like, you could see the light bulb go off.
And then you should see the light bulb in her eye when she goes, what's it pay? Better than you'd think.
I'm in full support of this because I'm like, this will give you something to do, makes extra money, and I can see Rod doing that. He would enjoy doing that. Like, I was like, yeah.
I didn't immediately say no. The more I thought about it, I was ordained by the end of the day. Have my Florida State business license so I can do weddings and I can also do funerals and baptisms, and I'd rather not. I'm just saying I can.
Since living in Florida, Rod has gone from wanting to be a boat captain, looking into owning a tiki boat.
That didn't last long.
No, but then he realized it was difficult to get your captain. So we've moved on from that to an ordained minister. But he's like, texting Bree, when's our next wedding?
When's our first wedding?
When's our first wedding? What are we going to do here? So Bree was already getting him prepped for what he needs to say and what he needs to be prepared for.
Dearly beloved.
And we need a website.
We're gathered here today.
Oh, we have a name.
I can't say it. I can't bring myself to say it.
We were tossing around some
This was
ideas.
not my idea. I had no part of this.
I'm going to blame Brent. I was in the kitchen getting the pie out of the oven, or getting another piece of pie, I think is what I was doing. And Brent came up with the name, She's Gonna Get the Rod Wedding Ceremonies. So that's, I think, what we're going to stick with.
I want no part of that. I'm an ordained minister. I can't partake in these things.
I actually made a logo too for it.
Of that title. I deleted it. Oh, you probably haven't.
Oh,
but.
I still have it.
Hey, Rod, I might be coming to you.
Yeah. Hey, yeah. Well, listen, the fact of the
not
matter
now,
is,
but, you know.
who wouldn't want me doing their wedding? So I can do it. I'm willing to travel all across the state, but not out of state.
Hold on, though. Can you actually do them in Canada or other states? Like, are you...
As far as you know, yes.
Wow.
So let's start pimping you out. Like, back in Canada this summer, let's just get every weekend. There's a lot of weddings in Canada in the summer because that's the best weather.
Where I also broadcast baseball. We'll work it out one day at a time. Anyways, I hope everybody enjoyed the yard sale episode. Did you?
Absolutely.
All right, we'll see you. Good job, Betty boy. We'll see you next week right here on Florida's favorite hockey show, Cats and Bolts.